Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining. I'm so happy that we're all here. We already have our two presenters joining us. We just need Angeliki to join and then we can kick off. And let's talk about our speakers for the day. So we have two. We have Johan and Madhuri from Microsoft. So, Angeliki, do you want to start introducing Johan?
Absolutely. So it's really exciting to have Johan here today. He is one of our Microsoft MVPs all the way from Sweden. And the reason I'm really excited that he's joining us today is because I think this is a wonderful bridge between our two worlds, CRM and ERP. And I appreciate that we have in theory two different calls, but hopefully today's call is bringing everyone together because it focuses on a really key topic around how we connect systems. So for example, between CE and FNO, what does it mean to use dual right, all the pros, all the pitfalls, how the process works and how to make the most out of it. So really cool to have Johan with us today.
Yeah, so take over whenever you're ready, Johan. I am excited for this one. I'll stop sharing my screen and you should have presenter rights. And maybe before you start, you could just tell us a little bit about the exciting things that we're seeing in your background as well.
Yeah, so my background consists of a lot of Star Wars stuff, which is sort of one of my main focuses in this case. I'm just having a small issue here trying to figure out exactly which slide deck I'm going to share. So I'm sorry about that.
No worries. We have plenty of time. Do not worry.
Yeah. It ended up showing the wrong presentation. So let's do like this. See if we can. Where is it? So I think that you are because I'm not able to share it through.
I had the same thing when I tried to do share the document. I ended up just having to share my screen instead.
Yes. So let me see if I can share not that one.
Maybe if you click display settings at the top left-hand corner, you might be able to change it to not be presenter mode.
Display settings. Yes. There it is. Now, I hope you can see it.
We can, yes.
Yes, so my name is Johan Persson. I work at the company in Stockholm called Engage Group, and we do mostly traditionally F&O stuff, but we also have a lot of CRM people nowadays. My presentation today is actually around this, because I heard some person at some point saying that the dual right, the dreaded one, it doesn't have anything to do with CRM at all. It doesn't affect CRM whatsoever. It's something that you do in F&O, and it won't do anything to our platform. And unfortunately, I'm here to tell you that you couldn't be more wrong if you think that that is the case. You do have the administration.
Was that you?
Sorry? You do have the administration UI within F&O, but it's actually just an iframe from Power Platform. So basically everything that has to do with dual right is hosted and located in Power Platform, and it's just surfaced through F&O. So why does this session exist? So the reason is that when Microsoft decided that we should connect ERP and CRM together with Power Platform, most people on the ERP side didn't really understand why we needed to do this. So I had a session for many years where I explained to F&O people what they needed to know about Power Platform in order to understand how dual right works. What I also realized is that we have the same issue on the CRM side, that most CRM people are sort of in the CRM silo, but don't really get outside of CRM because they usually just see the CRM side of things. And so I thought, to make the best out of these things and to don't misunderstand each other, I thought I'd do a session to try to explain why this is important. In this session, we will mainly go through the differences between CRM and what is changed in CRM when you attach F&O, and we would try to talk a bit about why we are no longer in two different silos. So the main thing here is that Microsoft has presented something called One Dynamics One Platform. And One Dynamics One Platform is actually the program where we are emphasizing the platform dynamics rather than the two different applications in Dynamics. That doesn't mean that CRM and F&O is the same application. It doesn't mean that they run on the same infrastructure. It basically just means that they are part of the same suite of applications, sort of like Office. Excel and OneNote isn't the same, but they sort of work well together, and they tend to be able to collaborate together as well. So Dataverse is what you actually connect to F&O. You get access to all of the CRM tables. You get access to all of the F&O tables in the form of virtual tables in Dataverse. The reason why I put up this slide and why I have the ugly couch on the side is because when you move in with someone, you know, that person who has the sword collection or who happens to have 200 stuffed plushy animals. Don't ask me how I know. When we move in together, there is always this. So it's either me with my sword collection or my ugly couch, or it's none of us. So it's an ultimatum. And it doesn't matter how much you say, but we have a one bedroom apartment. It doesn't fit. We can't fit your big couch in the apartment, but it's still, yeah, we need it. I need it. So this is basically what happens when F&O connects to CRM. We will add a lot of stuff to your platform, and you will sort of need to accept that it's there and understand how it works. We have, except for dual write, we also have a lot of connections to Dataverse because of other things. We have a lot of microservices, year-end closing, for instance, tax calculation service, a lot of other things. Our entire analytics base is based on connecting to Dataverse, for instance. So those are very, very important. But what's also important is that we have something called data events and business events. So by its nature, and I will come to that bit later as well, by its nature, F&O is very asynchronous. Everything that is done in F&O is done with a batch job. So you put something on a queue, and then a batch job runs and make sure that something happens to whatever in the queue. Almost nothing happens when you actually do something in F&O. And to remedy that, we actually use Dataverse and Power Platform to create an event-based integration platform with data events and business events in this case. So when One Dynamics One Platform is in full swing, this is actually what it will look like. So ERP will basically be an application on top of Power Platform. For the F&O people, they won't really notice that this changes. This only has to do with the administration UI and how we handle code and deployments and stuff. But when you install F&O in the future, you will actually go into Power Platform Admin Center and add it as an application on top of Power Platform, just like you do with Field Service or CRM or any of the other platforms. So this would be good to keep in mind. The thing is that even though they are on the same platform, ERP will still not use Dataverse as the database. It will use its own Azure SQL database. So dual write and virtual entities will still be needed either way. So a bit of history here. When F&O was released, we had a tool called LCS where we deployed all of our environments from. And the tool, which now with the advent of a Power Platform and One Dynamics One Platform, will eventually go away. There is a date set for 2027. But we don't really know exactly when it will be removed totally. The plan is 2027. we have different environments, different kinds of environments. Traditionally, we have had production, and then we have had tier 2, 3, 4, and 5 environments, which are Azure SQL environments with a web front end. And then we've had our development environments, which are sort of whole different kind of beast, because they are Azure hosted VMs in the customer's tenant. So we don't really discuss those, because those are also going away, and we will get a different kind of development environment. But that's sort of a bit of a history. What you also need to know that with different to CRM, ERP, F&O is actually a single tenant platform. So every customer has their own infrastructure which runs ERP, which means that we don't have really the problem of noisy neighbors destroying our performance and stuff. So that's also why there is a big difference compared to CRM, which is a more traditional SaaS service. So why does F&O need Power Platform? Well, as I said before, F&O and AX is not really very asynchronous, it's not very synchronous. So we need it to do event triggering, for instance. So dual write and virtual entities is one part of the reason why we need it. So in order to move customer metadata, master data, for instance, or product data, or quotes, prospects, and stuff over to CRM, we use dual write, for instance. To access F&O data in Power Platform, instead, we need to use virtual entities most of the time. Then, as I said before, we have the data events and business events, which basically is an event-driven integration platform on top of F&O, or on top of Dataverse, actually. And then we have a couple of microservices. We have electronic reporting, which uses Dataverse, and we have our entire analytics stack and archiving, also powered by Dataverse and by Power Platform. What we will get when One Dynamics One platform is completed, we will have something called unified environments. So basically, Power Platform environment where we install applications, CRM and ERP. These environments will be connected at install. So we will basically have all of the environments in the same all of the applications in the same Power Platform environment. When we deploy code to them, the vision going forward is that we will deploy both together. So we will basically take a CRM solution or a Power Platform solution and bundle in the F&O X++ code into that solution. And then we deploy the entire package to the unified environment. We will also refresh them together. So when we do a copy from production, we basically do a copy of CRM and F&O and field service and everything that is in the production Power Platform environment down to a UAT environment, for instance. The downside of this is that we will be sharing storage quota with the CRM and with the Power Platform, meaning that if you run out of space, we also run out of space. So we need to figure out a way to use the data together in this case. So what changes when we connect these two environments together? First of all, we get two solutions. We get the dual write application core solution, and we get the dual write core solution. Those are installed in Power Platform Admin Center and are basically the basis of dual write. It contains a lot of new tables. It contains some columns to existing tables. And as all other solutions in Power Platform Admin Center, they also need to be updated. So we need to have some kind of ALM story around all of these solutions. When we activate dual write, we get a couple of more solutions. So if you're familiar with how F&O is split up into finance, supply chain, commerce, project operations, and so on, we basically get one solution per area. So we get, as you can see here, we get one human resource solution, we get one finance solution. We get a supply chain solution, and then we get a couple of other solutions as well. And these basically contain the base mapping for each entity. So for each Dataverse table that is part of CRM, we have, not all of them, but most of them, we have a mapping to a corresponding F&O table, to corresponding F&O entity. So what DualWrite basically does is that when a line in the database in F&O is changed, it automatically writes that change down to the corresponding CRM table, or vice versa. When something is changed on CRM, it writes it back to F&O. So it's basically a one-to-one field mapping for each table/entity in this case. Then we have the integration keys, because CRM uses GUIDs mostly for unique keys. F&O does not. It doesn't understand what GUIDs are. So in order to map these two data structures together, we usually do, in this case on CRM, like we do on F&O. We add, for customer, for instance, we add a customer number, and then we pair it together with the legal entity, or the company in this case, which is sort of called data area ID on the F&O side. That together, those two together create a unique key. That means that customer number, for instance, doesn't have to be unique within legal entities. It has to be unique within a legal entity, but it doesn't have to be unique between legal entities. So we can basically have customer number 456 in all of our legal entities, and it could absolutely be not the same customer. So those integration keys help the system map together the data entities from CRM and the data entities from F&O in this case. We need to have, like I said before, we need to have an ALM solution to manage all of these updates. We also need to have a solution to where we store customized mappings, because we can change these mappings. We can add fields, we can remove fields. In some cases, we can add transform between fields. So we can say that if I get the value ABC, I should put out the value 1, 2, 3, because those are one-to-one corresponding. So we can actually create a transformation solution. We also need to understand that there are two ways of syncing data between CRM and F&O. First, we can do an initial sync. That's when we need to move all of the data from one of the systems, in my case, mostly from F&O over to CRM. That's when we use initial sync. So that basically creates an Excel file or a comma-separated file, which then is used to be imported in Dataverse. What then happens when we have done the initial sync is that we can turn on the live sync, which means that then we get what we talked about before, that all of the changes will trigger a replication between the two different systems in real time-ish, more or less. So Microsoft doesn't really recommend in all cases to use initial sync. They are talking about something called bootstrapping. Personally, I would say that bootstrapping is relevant when you have large amounts of data. If you have smaller customers with medium to small amounts of data, then I would say that initial sync works fairly well, and it's a lot easier because you have the entire data model in place from the beginning. So the next question, is DualWrite an integration? Well, from afar, it actually looks like an integration, because you can say that it basically does what an integration does. But if you look under the covers, it's basically not an integration, because if you talk to Microsoft, what they have said for the last 20 years, do not build an integration by writing directly to the database. And unfortunately, dual write does exactly that. So it's better when they do it than when we do it, but it's still writing directly to the database. And if you look at the traditional integration, what you usually do is that you design a JSON document for instance, creating a sales order. And then you have a JSON document for modifying a sales order. And then you have a JSON document for updating a sales order. And then you have a JSON document for confirming a sales order. So for every flow back and forth, you basically need to create a document, a message schema to be able to send the information that you need. This is not at all how dual write works. So if you look at the documentation for dual write, it's very process focused, but what is good to understand here is that you provide the processes. The dual write mapping in itself doesn't really provide the processes. It just sends the data back and forth. So you need to make sure that the processes that you would like to support with dual write actually works as it should. So we get a couple of different changes when we install these solutions, as I mentioned before. First of all, we get a lot of new tables. Most of the tables are called MSDyn as a prefix. Those are the dual write tables that are added with the solutions. Then we have the MS ERP tables. Those are the virtual entities that we will come to a bit later. Then we will also get new fields or new columns in existing tables. So if you look in the schema for existing CRM tables, you will see that in some of them, there is actually a new column or multiple new columns. One of the most commonly added is companies. So if you look at accounts, for instance, all of a sudden there is this company field that you can see here. And that field is basically telling the system which legal entity this record in CRM is pointing to, and so on. Then you get new forms and new fields on forms. So in order to support the platform and the processes, there needs to be added new fields. So for instance, you get an integration field, which contains all of the F&O data that has been synced, that is basically not originating in CRM at all. The major changes is legal entities. This is really, really important. Legal entities is basically silos within F&O for each of our VAT-enabled companies. So every legal company we have within our organization is a legal entity, and those communicate with the tax authorities and so on. We also have a lot of mandatory information. So for instance, in CRM, customer ID is not the mandatory field. In F&O, customer ID is really, really, really a mandatory field. It needs to be there every single time. You can't create a customer without the customer field. So we need to make sure that that works correctly. What you also need to understand is that the business logic within F&O and CRM basically creates a superset when you have dual write in place. So you need to have both of the system adhere to both of the subsets of business logic that needs to work. And also one of the major changes is that if you are doing quotes and orders in the CRM to F&O flow, you need to think about how pricing works, because the recommended way of doing this is no longer to use, for instance, price lists, which is the main way of doing it in CRM. Then we have some optional changes. And the first one here might actually not be optional anymore, because I have seen hints when I talk to Microsoft that global address book solution might actually be mandatory going forward, because some of the fixes for issues that we've had have been told to me that they will only be fixed in the global address book solution, which means that in that case we actually need it for everyone. And as I mentioned before, the pricing engine is also sort of optional. We could still use price lists, but the preferred way of doing this is to have the pricing engine in F&O handle all the prices and trade agreements and sales agreements and stuff. So a couple of things that are good to know about F&O from a more technical perspective. The database is extremely normalized, which means that to create a customer, you need to write to around 40 tables in F&O, not just one. There are like multiple tables that make up a customer. Addresses, for instance, are managed in its own table. It even has its own table for countries. So the address isn't even put together from one table. The address is actually resides in different tables as well. What's also important is that when you talk about products, you can't sell a product within F&O. You can sell an item, you can sell a released product, but the product in F&O is only master data. So it's actually not sellable at all. And also a good investment is to at least understand how the global address book works, because it is a bit tricky to wrap your head around. Then we have the virtual entities. So virtual entities is basically an OData endpoint in F&O, which is materialized as a table in CRM. You can do all of the CRUD operations to it. You can write to it, you can read from it, you can update in it, you can delete in it, and it will actually do the same in F&O. It does, however, require that you authenticate to F&O. It does require that you have a license in F&O. So it isn't enough to have a Dataverse license in order to access the virtual entities. Why don't we use them instead of dual write then? Well, the reason here is because CRM requires native Dataverse tables. It only works with native Dataverse tables. But if you're a Power Platform developer, then virtual entities might be a very good way of accessing data from F&O. So it's just a requirement from CRM. And if you talk to Microsoft, virtual entities is actually the preferred way of integrating with F&O if you're doing it from something other than CRM. So key takeaways. You are no longer alone in the ecosystem. Everything you do in CRM might end up screwing things up on the F&O side and vice versa. This is really, really important. I tend to joke that the main difference between CRM and F&O is that we have auditors in ERP. They are not very fun. And also, you can actually go to jail if you do things wrong in F&O. So understanding what the consequences are when you do things in CRM when it's connected to ERP is really, really important, because the silos, ERP and CRM, are actually connected nowadays. And also remember the picture of the couch. We move in a lot of stuff in your environment, and you need to sort of respect the fact that it's there. So this was my session. Thank you.
That was fantastic. Thank you. There was so much detail there. I used to be an ERP technical seller, and I forget it's a completely different world, isn't it? It's a different language. It
was a bit compressed because this is usually a session of an hour. So I needed to sort of merge it into a little bit. It was awesome. Shorter. Yeah, thank you.
Some folks didn't even know dual write existed, so you've given a lot of info.
That's
even
good.
Just starting with
That's
that.
Good.
Yeah.
I think that then my work here is done. Then I can I can step out.
You can rest well.
Yes.
I'm just going to call out a few questions that were in the chat. Okay, yes. First one was. So Lasse has a couple of questions. How do you manage the mappings between environments? Is there an automatic way of executing and managing the maps?
Okay, so I think I know what he's referring to. There is actually not a way built in to do this. What we do if we're using the built-in stuff, what we do is that we package the mappings in solutions, and then we move them with a pipeline or manually between environments to get the correct mapping into the correct environment. But then there is a tool made by a guy called Max at Microsoft, who actually orchestrates the start and stop and update of the mappings, and also the documentation actually of the mappings. You can actually have his tool take all of the mappings and create a wiki in Azure DevOps where they are all documented. It's a fantastic tool. I think that Lasse can probably put the URL in the chat for the GitHub repository. This is not a supported Microsoft tool, but I sort of wish that it was, because it's a fantastic tool.
Awesome. We're getting a load of questions and I'm conscious of time. So what I'll do is I'm just going to make sure none gets missed. There's a question from Maurice. Then if you could reply in the chat, that would be awesome. Then there's a question from Lasse, and then you can just see there's a load of questions coming up in the last few minutes. So if you wouldn't mind going through this and replying in the chat, that would be awesome.
I will.
Thank you. Perfect.
Yep.
Okay. Next up, we have Madhuri coming from our customer service team to talk about one of our agents. I think it probably makes sense to just hand over to you. The agent we're going to talk about today is the case management agent. So you should have presentation rights. You should just be able to take over. Maybe you could start with an intro to yourself, the team that you're in, and then let's dive straight into the presentation.
Absolutely. You all can hear me, I'm assuming. Awesome.
Perfectly.
So firstly, I'm very excited to be here. That was a great presentation just before me. So let me try keep it as engaging as possible as we are talking about the case management agent. Just a little bit about myself. I'm Madhuri, product manager in the customer service and support team from the product team. I focus on building AI-driven experiences for the case management, case lifecycle, especially around autonomous case creation and, the entire case lifecycle. So definitely excited to connect with this community and share how we're, pushing towards more intelligent, proactive support experiences. So let me just jump right in with my presentation. Give me 1 second. Okay. Yep. I'm guessing you all can see my screen.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, it's
awesome.
Yeah.
I'm just pressing. Okay. So at high level, what is case management agent, right? Look, it's kind of a self-explanatory, title that we have given to this AI agent. So what it does is at high level, it automates the entire case lifecycle from creation, from enrichment as the interaction keeps going on between the customer service representative and the customer. And we get to the resolution part and then the follow-up on closure, right? So I'll sprinkle a few of the real world scenarios as well so we can connect with it easily as we go. But let me just talk through what I'm going to show technically. So we are right on the screen. What we are seeing is level 2 support, level 2 in autonomy, which means you have these summaries, timeline highlights. I'm pretty sure most of you are using it already on the customer service dynamic CRM. So we have case summary, timeline highlights, email assist, and all of that. So that's it's assisting the human, but it's not that multi-turn experience where you're performing things with this, right? With this level 2 support. In level 3 is where we are talking about the semi-autonomous, which means the AI agents, they are creating things for you, keeping the things ready for you, just for you to go click on send or, just approve something that case management agent has done so far. So that's level 3, which means human is still approving the work that case management agent has done. And when we go to the level 3, which is, it's semi-autonomous. Level 3 is fully autonomous, which is human will be in the loop. Human can still look at the work that case management agent is doing, but technically case management agent will go ahead and send out the email, send out the communication to the customer. So, it will act on behalf of you, but you will be overseeing what it's doing through entire case lifecycle. Okay. So this is what I was just saying. So level 1, level 2, level 3. We were calling level 2, level 3, level 4. So just bear with me on those level names. So this is what I'm talking about. So today we are going to deep dive into these 2 levels. I'll show you how case management agent is performing at these 2 levels. Okay. So the first part is it comprises of these 3 capabilities, the entire agent. So here, case enrichment is like, you probably have definitely talked to Amazon or one of the, credit card companies or banks or stuff like that, right? So when you start a chat or an email to that particular organization, the interaction will not end and in just an hour or so. They have things that they may have to check and get to you, with the information and all of that. So as this interaction or as this communication keeps going on between the customer service representative and the customer, so technically all of these details where today, without the case management agent, the human customer service representative, they have to sit in front of the laptop. They have to fill all those attributes, details without the case management agent. So manually, right? So all this work, the attribute work, based on the interaction, changing those values, maybe case priority, suddenly it becomes higher as customer is not happy, right? So those kind of things are smartly captured just from the email, and all of those will be updated for you to, move the case life cycle, to have that case keep going to the next processes in that life cycle. And as you're seeing here, this part will, prepare the case for troubleshooting, which is like where we are coming in and finding out resolution for the customer, right? For example, if you have a question on Xbox or some subscription cancellation or something like that, subscription or refunds, and any like real life scenarios, this capability in case management agent will find that resolution for you without the human agent sitting in front of the laptop and going through like thousands of knowledge articles or thousands of third-party tools that they have, all of that. So it finds the right resolution from for the customer. It drafts the email and it sends out the email to the customer autonomously. In fully autonomous, it sends out. In semi-autonomous, which is level 2, which we have seen, it'll find the resolution, drafts the email, it keeps the email ready for you for human agent just to click on send, approve. Or if they want to add personal touches like hope your weekend was good or how is your Monday going, those kind of things. Throughout this process, it detects the customer intent. Like, is the customer happy, still happy? Is the sentiment kind of changed? All of those things will be considered. And here, it'll also, in semi-autonomous mode, I'll show you how that looks, the suggested next actions card in the live environment. So it communicates with the human agent through suggested next actions in the timeline on the case form very easily. Like, it prompts you, hey, here's what you have to do in the next 24 hours or like in the next 1 hour, just not to, mess up with any case details or like just not to mess with the customer sentiment. Okay. And throughout this process, it also understands if we need to have the human agent take control of that case. It determines that part as well. And if the customer is getting unhappy and stuff like that, it escalates to the human agent where it says, hey, I have done enough on this case. Customer does not seem happy, so I don't want to mess up anything else. You have to help me with this case. It escalates and it just retires, right? So now the last part is, after finding out the resolution, most of us, even me, like I once I get the resolution, I just abandon that email or like I don't reply to any of the support emails saying, hey, are you good with the case? Or are you good with your case? Can I go ahead and close? So that's probably 30-40% of the manual work that human agents are putting in right now, because every organization has some protocol saying, like 2 emails and then close the case, or 3 emails, send out those emails, see if they're good, and then close the case, right? So all that process with the key knobs like SLAs, times that you have to wait between the emails can entirely be automated as well. So we have seen some amazing ROI, with this entire case lifecycle getting automated and even standalone, right? Some customers, they have seen like follow-up on closure only to start with, and then they've moved to resolution and, the enrichment and all of that combinations. So I will just show you what I have. And I have prepared some cases last night. As we get into this, I'll show you how it looks so it makes sense in the real world. Sure. Okay. Yeah. So this is very simple case, this is another one. I'm not a gamer, so please excuse me if I'm missing any details. This is just something that I have created for just the demo purposes. Okay. One second. Okay, someone messed up with my case, but let me show you what I have so far, right? I can even do live as we have the setup already. So what I've done here is I, as a customer right now, I sent out an email saying, very simple email, right? Most of the times customers, they do have like edge case scenarios or like questions that we cannot solve autonomously. Like most of the basic questions, even now, if I have some documentation to how to cancel the subscription, I probably will ask a chatbot or, just see something like a shortcut where I can just get the information immediately, right? So that's what is automated, and it saves ample amount of time, right, for the human service agents not to answer these basic questions as well. So right now, what I'm asking is just cancel my Xbox Game Pass subscription, right? So once I do that, what usually case management agent did is it went ahead and talked about, okay, I will do it for you, but I do not have, because if you see, my email is pretty vague, like, all this case management agent has my name as a contact or a customer. So it went ahead and asked, like, I know you want to cancel, but can you please provide more details like gamer tag ID or email address associated with this Xbox account? So it's asking for more information from the customer, though it knows a resolution. It's making sure without, just jumping boundaries, and, it's making sure it's following the protocol. And as you can see, this email is entirely drafted by the case management agent. So, and you can also see the disclaimer here. So once I send this email, what happens is it will now go ahead and suggest a resolution, which will look at this. I'm going to the inbox. And I also promised to talk about suggested next actions, which, let's see this. Yeah, we're back in. So technically what happens is after I send out the emails, like my email address or gamer tag ID or stuff like that, what generally happens is it'll give the resolution to me, which is, if I can, give me 1 second. I'll show you what it does in my emails as of last night. Give me. Okay, here you go. So I don't show my entire mailbox. So after I replied to it, with my email address and with my gamer tag ID, this is what it replied to me. You can see the entire email. Hi, Madhuri, please follow these steps to cancel your Game Pass subscription. And it gave me clear steps on how to do it. And, if I have any questions, I can go ahead and ask, right? So after this, what it does is, let's go back into the org. So these are the suggested next actions that I was just mentioning. This is how it technically, case management agent communicates with the human agent if it needs anything, or what are the next steps that you have to do on this case and stuff like that. So once the resolution is provided, this is how it looks. It'll go ahead and suggest that, you can, resolve this case technically, which is there we go. So this is another suggested next action, different action when it's ready to resolve the case or when it's ready to close the case. So, these are the suggested next actions. And you may have asked a question like, how does it know what to suggest, right? As part of the resolution. So we do have, if you go into the settings itself, I'll show you how pretty detailed, and it's not it's not something that it's just spinning up, hallucinating and stuff like that. It's pretty following the directions very smartly that how we have given or how we are asking case management agent to do. So here it is. So this is a knowledge article that I have told or I have instructed the case management agent to do if it determines the intent of Game Pass subscription, like any questions related to Game Pass subscription. So in that resolution part, it technically understands the intent of the customer and it goes ahead and looks for the resources that are available in the system to suggest the resolution to the customer. And to make it more flexible and extensible, it's not just the knowledge article that we have. You can technically go as far as, there we go. So we can technically create an AI agent. For example, if the huge organizations, they do have some tailored business processes that they have to follow, right? So they can create their own custom agent or third-party tools that they have. Like, for example, a few of them have like FedEx, UPS, the third-party tools that they work with for shipping and tracking and all of that. So they can connect all those third-party tools, and they can also build custom AI agents for a case management agent to go ahead and refer or to go ahead and draft that email with the resolution, to go ahead and suggest that resolution to the customer smartly and precisely, if I can say that. And before we get there, I will also show you a little bit of how we are setting up, because now that I have shown you what magically does, it shouldn't feel like we are setting something up huge in the back end, right? So it's pretty straightforward, like how we have made this agent to, just to get some key knobs in the configuration and just perform how we like it, right? So the creation and enrichment part, the first part that we have talked about, you can technically select all the fields that you want to be updated. You just don't want the entire case form to be updated every single time you receive an email, right? So you can choose the fields that matters to you and matters to your business. And that's the case creation part. And in the case resolution, it goes down the funnel to the business unit level or line of business level, where you can create, a process for every business unit. If, it's billing, how do you want case management agent to act? Or if it's shipping or tracking, how do you want case management agent to act? All of those. And it's, as you're seeing, it's just pretty straightforward. We are not doing any fancy things there. And for the case follow-up and closure as well, like I have mentioned, we are asking case management agent to wait for a few hours before sending out the next email, not to overwhelm the customer, right? So all of those can be set here as well. And to make it more flexible, we also have condition builder, which is like, only under these conditions, I want you to act, else just don't mess with my cases at all. So, those kind of instructions you can give very straightforwardly, and case management agent will be automating your entire case lifecycle. So that's what I wanted to show today. I can take questions for a couple of minutes and I can answer async as well.
Thank you. That was awesome. It was really great to see the configuration side as well, to really bring to life how easily you can manage the process. That was so great.
Absolutely.
Question-wise, the only question that's come up is about how do you configure it? So I feel like you covered that. But if anyone else has any other questions, please just drop them in the chat. Thank you so much. Thanks to both of our speakers. That was awesome. In terms of events that are coming up, I've put them in the chat. So from the Microsoft side, we have Ignite, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, and Convergence, which is our new ERP conference that's going to be the 9th to the 10th of December in Miami. And if you look in the chat, you can see the QR code that will take you to a link tree that has all of the events. And then we have a handful of community events as well. Are there any in particular, Angelica, you want to call out?
Sure. So obviously, since Ignite is coming up, there's a great free community event in New York, amplifying that for a couple of days. So that's fun. There's a few new conferences happening in Europe or fairly new. So, for example, Update Conference for those that are pro developers, or a Dynamics one in Oslo, and then a brand new one that is across the whole stack called Shift Plus Enter Summit in Budapest. So a few different things happening, and a great opportunity to connect with the community.
Yeah, some really interesting ones coming up over the next few months, I feel. So that's exciting. I think we'll leave it there. Thank you, everybody. Dwayne will be putting the recordings and the decks up on our social media in the next few weeks. So Johan, I know I've got yours. Madhuri, I'm not sure if I've got yours. If you could share it with me. If not, then we'll get that up onto the community LinkedIn and YouTube channels.
Absolutely. I'll share it with you.
Perfect. Thank you. Have a great day, everybody. And we will see you back here in December for some more great sessions. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.